I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Durante.
present.
Folks is excused. Rappaport.
Present.
Sharp.
Present?
Spezak.
Sorry, me?
Yes.
Here.
Williams. Here. And Wilson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Approval of minutes.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Spezak, supported by Commissioner Williams. Roll call, please.
Wilson.
Wilson.
Wilson, I'm sorry.
Roll
My
call vote
apologies.
to approve the November 6th, 2019 meeting minutes. Durante.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Spezak.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
And Wilson.
Yes.
6 ayes, the motion passes.
At this time of our meeting, if there's anything that is not on the agenda that you'd wish to bring up, this would be the time. All right, I see none, so we will move right into our agenda tonight. Our first case is it's a public hearing for case 2229C, public hearing for plans for the proposed Perrinville residential condominium. Mr. Ayub.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. The subject site here is located north of Ann Arbor Trail, south of Joy Road, east of Farmington, and just west of Hines Drive. It comprises of an undeveloped 5.08 acres. The petitioner tonight is requesting final site plan review of a multifamily condominium development as part of a PUD. The PUD zoning classification was approved by the Planning Commission at the November 6th meeting, and the preliminary plan was also reviewed, and a recommendation to approve was granted. However, there were several modifications requested by the Planning Commission rather, that will highlight tonight. Before I do that, I'm going to give a quick but lengthy summary of what I discussed in the last meeting, kind of summarizing this project really quickly. Adjacent land uses and zoning in the area. Property to the north is located in the city of Livonia. This over here, zone single-family residential on the northeast side, and preservation on the left-hand northwest side. Property to the south, located in Westland, is zoned R2. This color over here, this area, and is single-family residential. The property over here to my right is SPD. It's a condominium development. Property to the east is R5. It's a single-family neighborhood, approximately the similar density as what's proposed on this parcel here today. This is Nankin Lake, zoned R5. And tonight the PUD is for a multi-family condominium development, again on the 5.0 acre subject site. A total of 6 buildings will contain 28 total units. 2 different unit types are proposed. One is a 2-bedroom unit, and the other is a 3-bedroom unit. Of the total 5.08 acres, approximately 2 of that will be designated as open space, which excludes buildings, paved areas, and the detention pond. The proposal indicates a residential density of 28 units, while under the current R5, the previous R5 zoning district, that's similar to, that's exactly the same as the neighborhood across the street. A maximum of 38 single-family units would be allowed. The condominium development will have access from a full-service road, internal road, just to the east of the property along Farmington Road, parallel to Farmington Road. A full-service approach in the midpoint of the east property line will be located in this area over here, with access off of Farmington Road as well. The internal access, one-way access road will be connected to these egress point, exit-only points, one to the north and one to the south, and this is the entrance and exit over here. This traffic layout utilizing an internal access road limits curb cuts by eliminating the need for individual driveways to back up to Farmington Road. For those of you that weren't here at the previous meeting, it was explained that the initial proposal, as proposed by the developer, had driveways that backed up onto Farmington Road. This created several curb cuts on Farmington Road, so the developer eliminated that, installed this internal access road, and now there's 3 curb cuts for this development instead of several for each individual unit, which helps with traffic issues. The added trip generation along with this traffic layout is expected to be very minimal and have very little impact on traffic patterns. Condominium units with 2 bedrooms or more require 2 parking spaces each. The proposed development complies with this requirement by providing a 1-car garage for each unit and 1 outdoor space for each unit. Sod will be planted along with an irrigation system installed as required for residential developments. Development of the site will also include the installation of a landscape berm around the west, south, and north perimeters. Petitioner proposes stormwater detention at the southwest corner of the site right here that will control stormwater on site. Like any other project that comes through my office, the building office, or the planning commission and city council, the approval of construction permits will be subject to review and approval by Wayne County's permitting office for stormwater management. It is understood that this stormwater detention does comply with Wayne County stormwater ordinance. Getting into some of the modifications made to the preliminary plan, the width of the internal access road has been increased from previous 15 feet to 18 feet as requested by the Planning Commission and Fire Department. The turning radii of this area in the rear of the site, this dead end, has also been increased to accommodate service trucks and fire trucks as suggested by the Fire Department and Engineering Division. I need a drink, sorry. Clear vision areas of 25 feet have been added to each of the corners, and all are unobstructed with the exception of this one at the northeast corner. I'll blow up these in a bit when I'm done discussing this. This one here, the one that is obstructed, has a DTE box there that would be very costly to relocate. 16 visitor parking spaces have been added throughout the site as requested by the Planning Commission. This is in addition to complying with the required parking. The proposed one-way drive exits at the exits at the north and south end of the development have been pulled as far back from the intersection as possible. As requested by the Planning Commission, the northern driveway here is 110 feet away from the property line and 140 feet away from the intersection curb. The southern curb cut is about 145 feet away from the property line and about 165 feet from the intersection curb. To give you an idea, some of the curb cuts that you see on the major thoroughfares like Ford Road and Wayne Road, those are approximately anywhere between 60 to 80 feet away from the major intersections. Some of the, I'm almost done here. Some of the information requested at the previous meeting, or some of the information that was shared by the developer at the previous meeting that the residents in attendance were concerned or interested in learning more about. The existing ditch along Farmington Road will remain, and there are no proposed changes to it. However, the developer understands that it is likely that Wayne County will request improvements to this ditch, and the developers is prepared to make those improvements if requested by Wayne County. That drain, or that ditch, is on Wayne County right-of-way, so the developer cannot touch it unless Wayne County requests that they do so. A letter from the developer is in your packet citing various reasons for no sidewalk installations. The developer is agreeable to installing a sidewalk on the north side of the property here near the Livonia border, where this is really the only place that it makes sense. If Wayne County determines that a connection is needed there. The only way this makes sense, though, is if Wayne County removes the guardrail here that will provide access from the sidewalk to the Wayne County Hines Park system. Right now, there's a guardrail here that would prohibit someone from crossing to access the park. The Livonia Police Department was contacted as a result of concerns expressed by some residents who attended the previous meeting. The Livonia Police Department reported minimal crash data near the Farmington and Joy Road intersection. 2017, 3 crashes, 2018, 5 crashes, and 2019, 3 crashes. Westland Police Department provided a letter that is in your packet expressing no objections to the proposed condo development, and that the general area and roadways will be able to accommodate the added traffic. The police department did not request any left turns, no left turn signs at the exit-only curb cuts. The Westland Fire Department met with the developer and the fire marshal, I think before the holidays, and is satisfied with the modified site plan. There was some additional information from the fire department this morning that I'll share in a second. I think that's all I have. I'll explain the fire department comment real quick, and then I'll run through some of the pictures that I took of the site. The fire department this morning realized that this was on the agenda for tonight and wanted to ensure that the developer was agreeable to installing additional fire hydrants as needed. One was requested in a specific location in the rear where my pointer is, approximately somewhere in that area. The developer agreed in an email reply to me and the fire marshal that they would supply that fire hydrant during the construction documents and would provide any others as requested by OHM Engineering and the fire department. Some of the pictures I took, I'll just run really quickly through these. Everyone's seen the site plan by now. This is the side and front elevation. This is what the front's going to look like. It's a one-story. There's some dormers in the rear. Rendering of the front. This is one of the three-unit buildings. This is a picture I took a few days ago facing south, standing near the Livonia border. Facing north, the empty field across the street in Livonia. Condo development just to the southeast of the proposed development. The residential neighborhood northeast in Livonia. This is the park to the northwest, the guardrail that I was talking about that would prohibit access if a sidewalk was installed here. Nankin Lake in Westland to the west. Single-family residential. Mackenzie Street is just over here, I think, a little bit. This is the ditch I was talking about. The developer, again, expects there to certainly be some requests from Wayne County to improve it. This is the location of approximately where the curb cut to the north will start. And this is me standing in front of the intersection, just to give you a visual of how far approximately it will be on the other side of the street. Same curb cut, Livonia border here, intersection here, the beginning of the curb cut over here. This is the south curb cut, standing as close as I can with, still trying to capture that image there, standing as close as I can to the intersection and showing you how far that is. This is the condo curb cut over here. Again, standing near the location of where the curb cut will start, facing the intersection over there. That's all I got. Thank you. Well, the recommendation from the Administration and Planning Department is to recommend approval of this petition to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ayub. Is the developer petitioner here? Would you come forward, please?
Hi, good evening. Peter Spotlight, we're Fanny Homes. Can you address me as well?
No, that's fine. We know you don't. Okay. Anything you wish to add?
No, I think I appreciate most outline. We kind of put our heads together. I was quite a few necessary parts of being kind of gathered, some of the residents as well as the planning commission's concerns from our meeting early November. I think we brought forth a pretty good revised plan, and I look forward to hopefully approval this evening and any questions you have for us. So.
Okay, and you're okay with the hydrants, or if there's a possibility there's additional hydrants requested?
Right, yeah, that was something we agreed to earlier today.
Right, okay. So they talked about the one, but if there's a possibility, they determine there's more needed, you're okay with that also, right?
We'll make that determination.
Okay.
Based on what that was outlined.
Very good. All right, this is a public hearing, so we'll let you sit back down. We'll open up the audience, then we'll bring you back up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on my left wish to speak on this? Anyone on my left?
Can we have the microphone on so we can hear it?
The microphone there should be
My
on.
name is David Petzel. I'm a resident. I'm about near the north curb cut, we're across from it. I see some good changes that you folks have considered. I appreciate that very much. Could I go by item? I mean, I only have 3, I think, at this point. On that sidewalk on the north that they don't want to do or don't want to put in, it's kind of a safety issue because there's actually no place for when people cross from Livonia or Westland to actually cross on a safe space. You're on somebody's property or that kind of thing. That guardrail thing, everybody just hops it. It's just, it's not an issue, that way. That would be something I think would be more of a safety thing, and I would like to put that out. Let's see. On the north curb cut, I saw on the plan that it was like you could come out right or left. And I saw on the plan someone actually put in ink or put over it just a right turn on that. And that would make a lot more sense for that particular intersection in terms of the number of accidents that you could expect. Coming around from the east, going south on Farmington, that is kind of a blind corner when there's traffic there, and that sort of, it's a potential problem to go left at that particular intersection. The one in the south, that's cool because that's cool. Let's see. The only other thing that bothered me is that our storm drain crosses south of the north curb cut, but it goes underneath that curb cut, and I don't know how deep that roadway is at that point relative to our drain space. I looked at the elevation stuff. I couldn't really tell, where everything was, top to bottom, but it goes over our storm drain, and so I'm concerned that there's some interference, to simply put, let's see. That you took care of, north. I appreciate the information on the accidents, over time. Just recently, one of our neighbors actually reported and actually videoed just something that just happened a few days ago, I guess, And then I heard also that some truck got stuck recently on Hines, got stuck because it couldn't turn around. So trucks are accessing this space, and if it's residential, keep them out, is my recommendation. Don't have them come our way, And that's the sum of what I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone on my right wish to speak? Anyone on my right? We'll go with the right. We'll go back and forth. Anybody on my right? Yes, if you want to come forward.
I just have a question, but I just...
Yes, if you come up here and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Diane Sims, and this property that's along Hines Drive, is it going to be the only place along Hines Drive then that has residents right there on Hines Drive?
No.
It's the only, that we're talking about the development that we're looking at now.
Right.
That's the only piece that Westland has there. Everything
Right.
else north of Joy Road is Livonia, so we can't answer the
Right,
Livonia.
because going down Hines Drive, there's no houses along Hines Drive at all. So this will be the first time that houses are going to be right there along Hines Drive?
Yes, there is.
Okay, because I personally,
There's
I'm
quite
just
a few.
against that. I think we need to keep Hines Drive. I know it's too far, and it's past the point, but once we start it, then more people, then you're going to have a precedent, and more people will be able to build along Hines Drive. I don't think that should happen. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone on my left? Yes, come forward and be kind enough to give us your name, please.
Hello, my name is Yvonne Wyborny, and I live on Farmington Road across the proposed condominiums. I also appreciate a lot of the modifications that have been made. Mo, I had one question. When we were looking at the draft drawings, do you still have one that shows a lot more shrubbery and trees on the Edward Hines side? Can you put that one up?
Chairman, is it okay if I?
Pardon? Oh, certainly. Yes, certainly.
This is the landscaping plan, proposed landscaping plan. As I mentioned at the last meeting, in the city of Westland, we do have a ordinance that requires landscaping, and we do like to have landscaping, trees, and things like that. So this is what the proposed landscaping plan looks like.
Okay. So first of all, on the north side, near like Edward Hines and Joy Road, developer put up a no trespassing sign on that corner, and that keeps getting run down by cars. So it's a dangerous intersection in a lot of ways. It's really dark at night, and then if they're going to put shrubbery there, it's a security issue. First of all, when people, I'm concerned about people coming westbound on Joy and trying to turn left onto Edward Hines. That's where a lot of the accidents happen. And if there's shrubbery in the way, then they may not see cars coming down that road. And then once again, it's the cyclists. So there have been cyclists cycling along Hines, be westbound on Hines, whatever it is, and the car doesn't see them, and I've seen a car hit a cyclist. So it's a no-win situation. If you put all that shrubbery there, now my husband Dave's suggestion to put a sidewalk there might help a little bit with that. So there might be a clearing. Yeah, like a walkway, so there'd be some kind of clearing somewhere, so more visibility. And then it's just a dangerous intersection. I still have concerns about it. And that whoever buys that first condo, I think sooner or later, there might be a car that hits it. I'm sorry, just, the Canadian geese cross there, so what happens when somebody's going westbound on Edward Hines and they think they can go around, and then they see the geese, and then they go into the condos? It's not an ideal place for putting a development to begin with. I liked it better where the trees were set back more farther away from the intersection, because during rush hour, the people start stacking up to turn left onto Hines to get over to wherever they're going. And so then they get in a hurry to go. And so I'm just worried with all those shrubbery in the way that they won't see the cars, and they'll just go. So that's my one concern. I really appreciate that the county's going to leave the ditch there. That really takes care of any of my concern about. Mo would like to talk to the person from the county, or have Dave talk to the person from the county, because a long time ago, where it crosses, the person that owned that house at the time asked the county if it was okay to cap the ditch. So there's like concerns about like that whole thing getting plugged up and not having access to it. And, but if there's gonna be a ditch on both sides, that takes care of a lot of my fears about Farmington Road flooding like it used to. So, I appreciate that. And I agree with Dave, because a lot of times, so when people are coming westbound on Joy, if they finally get to go and they're going to turn left onto Farmington Road, and somebody is coming out of the condos and they're trying to turn left, I would predict that sooner or later there's going to be an accident there. And my neighbor lives right at the corner, so he sees them all. So I would really appreciate it, even if they just put a sign there, right turn only. You know, if it's too expensive to put curb modifications, but at least if they put a sign there, right turn only, I think it would be a lot safer, because a lot of times you can't. I mean, the other day, it was rush hour and I'm trying to get out of my driveway and I was having a hard enough time. And then if you have all these other people coming out of the condos, it's going to be a lot more dangerous. So I think that's it.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else on my right? Anyone else on my right? Anyone else on my left? Anyone else? Sir, if we'll bring you back up here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, now there was a couple items they talked about as a possible sidewalk on the north side, but that'd be something you'd have to do with engineering and with Mr. Ayub and that, or the curb cut. But I mean, they're listed on the plans as that signage has to come through the police department on that. So is there anything else you wish to add?
Not at this time. I think, like I said, I think hopefully we addressed enough of the concerns from all parties.
All right, we will open it up to the commission then. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Wilson.
Good evening. Thank you. Through the chair to the gentleman, I was the one who marked up that drawing, because that was the cut I requested in our prior meeting. And it didn't seem to me like on this diagram that it had been corrected or performed. So I hope to the developer that you go back and you look at this first curb cut that's at Joy Road, the very first one, and where you have it swinging so far to the left, you can bring it back to the right so that there's only one way out of that area. And that's to make a right turn, not a left turn and cross over traffic. That was my issue.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Rappaport.
So I wanted to address a few of the things that were also brought up, as I've heard. Regarding the accidents issue, I note that there's 11 accidents in 3 years. My question is kind of to the administration. how does that compare with years prior and other areas?
Can't answer the second question. The Livonia Police Department and Westland Police Department, well, the Livonia PD gave me 2017, 18, and 19, and I believe Westland PD gave me the same, 17, 11, 2018, 4, and 2019, 8. So, I mean, you have the information that I have. I don't have comparables of any other intersections throughout the city. Some would be greater, obviously, and some would be less.
Okay, well, I do note that we do have a communication from a Sergeant Fruit indicating that the 11 accidents at that corner indicate that there have been 8 total accidents in that general area in 2019, and that these numbers actually represent a decrease in the accidents in the area from years prior. My continuing question is about the lighting in the area, and if those accidents occurred during the daytime or the nighttime. And if they were during the nighttime, I guess my recommendation would be for somebody to advocate for an intersection lamp to increase the lighting. But that's a pertinent, not super relevant to our current issue. Before you took over, Mr. Ayub, for our former director, Bruce Thompson, the mayor and the mayor's administration had a policy where when these new developments would arise, we were focusing on a walkable, bikeable Westland, which means that we were encouraged to use the word sidewalk whenever humanly possible with developers. And I'm wondering if you have been continuing with that policy with new developments such as this one, so that we make sure that that the issue of a walkable, bikeable community is actually being fulfilled.
So whenever, not only when a development comes through the planning commission, but also when we get interior renovations, like a Burger King wanting to do some interior renovations and maybe replace a sign, I am required to visit the site and see if there's any issues with the parking lot, if there's any issues with any parking spaces not being striped properly, to see if there's any issues with the sidewalk, which is on public property, and ask that they either fix it or install a sidewalk. If there's a reoccupancy of a building that doesn't have a sidewalk, that doesn't necessarily need to go to the planning commission. So we do ask for those improvements to be made for walkability. In this specific case, it was discussed in detail regarding the sidewalk. It was a separate conversation, excluding all of the other elements related to this property, and this property being kind of on its own island. We understood that we agreed that we would rather have the internal road here as opposed to the sidewalk. You can't have both. It's a difficult piece of property to work with. It's obvious in the way that it's shaped and where it's located. So you either get the sidewalk or you get the internal access road, which eliminates curb cut for every individual unit dumping off of onto Farmington Road. There's no sidewalk connection here, and there's likely not to be one here. There is a good connection here that provides you access across the street. And there was an argument that the city was able to make to place a sidewalk here that connects this residential neighborhood and potentially Hines Drive. You can kind of barely see the sidewalk over here in the Hines Drive system. So that would be a sidewalk that we'd like to see as a city. The developer has agreed to do it. It requires some cooperation with Wayne County. So the developer is agreeable to installing it if Wayne County will approve it and remove this, not necessarily remove it, but create an opening in the guardrail fence. The resident said that people hop it. Well, yes, but if we require a public sidewalk on public property and someone crosses it and doesn't hop the guardrail in time, that's the issue on our hands. So again, where it makes sense, where the city has requested a sidewalk installation on this property, the developer is agreeable, subject to Wayne County's interaction on that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayub. And I do note that we have communication from a civil engineering firm communicating that they did look into the possibility of a sidewalk installation along the long edge of the development. And for a number of legitimate reasons that I'm reading here, it's just simply not feasible, especially when we take into consideration the improvement of the water management system. With regard to the road cut that Commissioner Wilson has very eloquently referred to, and the issue, and I guess maybe we discussed this at length when this matter came before us for preliminary approval, and it seems that the development team heard us but didn't understand our vision. And I want to make sure that today we actually leave with a very good understanding of exactly what we would expect to have happen before we allow this to move forward with final approval. Which, as a very brief aside, I do believe that I speak for the entirety of the commission where I would request that the administration, unless there is an exigent circumstance, definitely bifurcate preliminary and final plan approval. We just simply need the time to consider. But if, Mr. Chairman, if I would have the permission from the chair to approach the petitioner, I have an inked piece of paper. I'd like to share what I believe to be our vision with them directly. May I?
Sure, absolutely, but then you'll have to make sure that they can come up here and look and see it.
So, is I made an ink modification to one of these small maps that we've been provided, and I'm going to leave this at the lectern, and anybody can take a look at it. But what we were actually discussing was a road cut that follows this inked pattern. You can see how how the one that you've suggested leaves a wide opening at the roadside. That's not what we want. What we wanted was a wide opening at the residential side, so that the residences over onto the north side of the cut had the same absolute access as the residents to the south side of the cut. But the ingress and egress on the main street would be restricted so that it would be difficult, if not impossible, for people for the traffic flow to go in the way that we do not want it to go. Here at the northernmost road cut, we want the egress from the development to only be able to turn right, because when they turn left, if they were to turn left, it could feasibly cause a hazard. Can I address this? Absolutely, please do.
Yes, we understood what you were looking for. I guess we don't foresee that as being a problem, turning left there with the 25 mile per hour speed limit of the road and the four-way stop. It doesn't seem, in my view, that it's necessary to limit the turns there. That's also going to create the 10 units there that are using that road. It's probably going to create them to go the wrong way back down the interior road to get out to the main entrance to make a left. But in saying that, we would like to defer these entrance approaches to Wayne County traffic, which we've got it in for review right now, and we would go with their recommendation on that. But we don't foresee that being a major problem turning left there.
Wouldn't you have double traffic going there then, too? By the way, what they're trying to outline? You have cars going both ways almost, which the road's almost kind of too tight, but that's not designed for it.
Well, they're saying to limit it so you're only turning right out of this entrance, but with this being a stop, a four-way stop here, you know, traffic stopped, and there's plenty of room to make a left there. I don't see the problem.
So anybody who's exiting here has to go back south.
Right.
They're basically have to go on, come all the loop right back over on Hines Drive to get back around.
Right, they've got to find another way to get going north that they want to
I
do.
think the traffic patterns, it seems kind of challenging to do that.
Yeah, it would be.
And just for 10 residences, we don't see.
I agree with you.
You know,
Commissioner
I
Rappaport, are
appreciate the
you,
concern, but it just seems like it's just, with, the site's got a
cause
lot
more
of
problems.
challenges, so it's just kind of trying to be a balancing act, trying to address everything.
Commissioner Dreyden.
Through the chair to the petitioner. You have in the main drive going into this unit, you have it coming in and going out,
The main entrance, yeah.
the main entrance. I think you need to,
Commissioner Wilson?
yes, sir.
Commissioner Rappaport still has the
Oh, I'm
floor. We
sorry.
can get back with you.
Absolutely, I'll cede the
Okay,
floor
I'll get
back
back
to you
with you.
so that you can continue on
I
this
I
issue.
just, it was just the one question I had.
I'll cede the
Go
floor.
ahead. You giving it back to me for right quick?
I'll cede the floor.
Thank you. Since the main drive is going in and out, why does the traffic pattern on going north, why does it have to be one way? Why can't it be that these people can travel both ways? You have an exit at the end
Right.
where people can back in, turn around, and go back out. What about the fire department? They can't, are they going to be expected to just go one way or the other way? And then at the front, just go both ways? I'm not understanding this.
Well,
And the reason why you can't put that one right-hand curb cut in there. That's what I don't understand.
Okay. So we don't have enough room to put a two-way road in there. It would have to be almost twice as wide. That's the reason for the one-way. And the one-way was a means to eliminate all the individual driveways out to Farmington Road with a method that would fit. That's the reason for the one-way.
I think the road was 15, we increased it per OHM's request, we increased it to 18.
To 18.
Right.
So it's imagine 15 feet's pretty tight, so
Would the,
so even 18 feet to get
would the
two cars
planning
in there.
commission prefer that I mean, this is, I don't know, this is kind of backtracking, but would the planning commission want to eliminate the road and have each individual curb cut similar to the single-family
No,
houses?
no.
Okay.
No. I would prefer just to use that curb cut there. You can only exit to the right and not to the left. Crossing over a turning lane to get into the outside lane to go north on Farmington. That's all I ask. And I don't see, unless you're out there, you don't know this traffic pattern. I know this traffic pattern.
Yeah, I'm
And it's
very,
crowded.
yep, I'm very familiar with this. I travel this route every day to work at rush hour, and, you know, sometimes there's a couple cars backed up at Joy Road, you know, 3 at the most. I don't see a problem. We're far enough behind there, and all the cars are stopped there, that I don't see a problem with someone coming out and turning left there. I really don't.
We're talking
All
until
right,
what,
we'll
10
revert
cars?
back to Commissioner Rappaport.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Wilson. So if I can paraphrase what I think I'm hearing from you, what your issue is that if we restrict too much the northernmost curb cut, the residents won't choose to use it. It would be unused by the residents there in its entirety, and they'll just their regular pattern of driving would be to go down to the center curb cut, where they could either make a left or a right-hand turn, and that would, even if they intended to make a right-hand turn, that would be their traffic pattern anyways.
Right.
And that's your concern.
Right, the ones that want to head to the north, yes.
Well, obviously, the ones that want to head to the north would, if the curb cut went in, they'd have to go to the center, curb cut anyways.
Right, right.
But what I'm suggesting, and what I think I'm hearing from you, is that that would ultimately end up being their normal pattern, even when they want to turn right. They just simply go right to the center curb cut anyways. And it would ruin the planned traffic pattern of your plan. Is that what you're suggesting?
Somewhat. I don't think the people who wish to turn right out of there would necessarily backtrack, but definitely the ones that want to turn left out of there and head north, they would, be inclined to go the wrong way down the one-way drive to get to that center entrance.
True, but if it is their honest belief and apprehension that turning left at that northernmost curb cut would be dangerous, wouldn't they make that traffic alteration anyways? Wouldn't that normally be their pattern anyways?
If
they were in fear of damage to their vehicle or their personal safety or their children?
I suppose so. I don't believe they
So
would be,
what is
though.
what is the objection to making the curb cut?
So I guess if, this is just a question for everybody, and I'm gonna clear this up for myself. So if I'm a resident in Unit 6, and if I'm going out that the way you're saying to go, if I wanna go basically make a left to go north past Joy, then I have somebody coming in to go to Unit 5, they're not gonna be able to get past each other then, right? I understand that correctly?
Right. It's a one-way there, and I really don't see turning left there as being dangerous. These cars going southbound on Farmington are gonna be stopped at the four-way stop. The people turning left out of the development are far enough back they can see what's happening and turn in left and cross over there. I just don't see, if you put a physical restriction there, that would force them to backtrack.
Then you have that gridlock kind of, and really you're talking 10, for the overall development, you're talking 10 units that really have an impact on that. So if you figure at what point in time of the day are you gonna have all 10 residences actually making a left-hand turn there, it's probably highly unlikely, maybe a few at most.
Well, I do note, and it might sound like I'm not being supportive of you, and it might sound to others that I am being supportive of you, but I'm literally just making a statement here. We note that there are signs, say for example, the Westland Myers. There's a major entrance and egress that has a sign that says you can't turn a certain direction because it is too close to a major intersection. However, what sets that particular sort of a situation aside from the one that I believe that we're talking about here is the number of people that are likely to want to make that turn. Whereas you have an entire shopping community that occasionally is more interested in getting home with their goodies than they are with the safety of others, we have a slightly different situation here. I certainly not suggesting that we dismiss the traffic concern because it is a legitimate concern and it is a worry. And I'm sure as a developer, you can understand that my point that your residents might be a little bit concerned for their safety and the safety of their children. And of course, we're concerned for the safety of the other drivers in the area as well. But I think maybe what was said that you would comply with the recommendations of the traffic officials. I think that might actually satisfy the board, and I'm inclined to include that provision as both fair to you and addressing our concern. Now, the last thing I want, thank you very much for everybody for being patient while I plowed through that. The last thing that I wanted to touch on was the issue of fire hydrants. And it just so happens that we do have a former fire chief, I believe, up on the panel here. And I would love if Chairman Sharp could address this issue with maybe a suggestion for where we could put some fire hydrants.
I will gladly do that. I will go to Commissioner Williams, and then I'll come back. Commissioner Williams.
Well, again, the compliment. This process has not been easy on either side, but
Please leave it up there.
But the rational and effective communication from the citizens, well, because those are hearing that speaks to how the process should be, where no one's going to do everything, but clearly, safety is the biggest issue, and that was really expressed. I'd like to thank you, individuals that presented it from that perspective, as well as the last month. You obviously had some intense conversations that were compromising on both ends. So I just want to acknowledge that, because I think that's what this is all about, is planning. And planning is a very intense process, but it doesn't have to be adversarial. And I really appreciate that. So I just want to make sure that's part of the record, that we acknowledge good processes as well as disagreements. Don't always have to be conflicts or things, but they,
Thank you.
everybody just has to be heard, so I just want to recognize that. So back to the chair.
In regards to the hydrants, I don't want to overstep our fire marshal, but using your plans and a tape measure, I measured from all the available hydrants. There's really only one hydrant on Farmington, that's at the south end. The hydrant in the center is actually on McKinsey, so that's additional footage. The north hydrant is actually on Joy Road, which is additional footage. If you was to locate a hydrant at Unit 8 and at Unit 21, you would cover that entire thing within workable distance for the firefighters and for the residents.
Is that in addition to one down the T turnaround? Is that what,
Well,
just the two? Or what is the fire marshal asked this morning, Mark?
is it okay if I respond?
Yes.
So the fire marshal, and I wasn't in the room when the fire marshal was reviewing this for fire hydrants specifically, but I can say for certain that the fire marshal did two things. He requested one fire hydrant in a specific location, which you guys are aware of, in this area over here. And then the fire marshal also stated that there are other hydrants that either are or may be required. And the dialogue between him and I sent directly to you guys, and you guys were agreeable to both of those, installing the required location, the single one, and then also placing others that are required during the construction documents.
Yep, we will work with them, and wherever they want the hydrants, we will place them, yeah.
And using your plans there, and I measured all those out, in front of Unit 8 and in front of Unit 21. Now, you're talking about a loop system. You can't have a dead-end system either. It has to be a loop system. So that would be an easy loop for you. But that would be the safety for all those residents and for the firefighters in the event that they have to go there.
Again, yeah, and we'll work with the city engineers and the fire department, and give them whatever.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Yes.
It's my opinion, if you made that northern entrance a one-way going south, it would cause more of a problem with the residents going south, then having to turn right onto Ann Arbor Trail, then right onto Hines Drive, and then right back onto Joy Road, and then back off. It would cause more of a headache for the residents that want to go north, to circle all the way around to go that way. So I say leave it the way it is. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I am ready to go with the motion.
Very good, sir.
At this time, regarding case number 2229C, final plan approval, I'd move to close the public hearing, waive the normal rules, and send case number 2229C to City Council with a recommendation for approval, subject to the following conditions. 1, the northernmost curb cut access be modified in accordance with traffic official written recommendations, as we discussed. Number two, that the plan be modified in compliance with sidewalk policy as the department shall request or require. 3, fire hydrants are added as required by fire marshal's written recommendation, and of course, as the department shall require. And lastly, number 4, be subject to other requests and recommendations, reasonable requests and recommendations that the Building and Planning Department shall require.
Second motion.
Motion by Commissioner Rappaport, supported by Commissioner Spezak. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to approve the Perrinville Residential PUD development. This is final plan approval, subject to number 1, curb cut modified per traffic officials, just so everyone knows, including the developer. This will be reviewed by OHM's official traffic engineer, and a report will be requested by myself from the traffic engineer. Number 2, sidewalks installed as required, specifically at the north side if Wayne County is willing to cooperate with the guardrail. 3, hydrants installed per fire department requirements, and 4, that all other planning and building requirements are complied with. Motion to approve per those conditions. Durante.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Spezak.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
6-0, the motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck as you go to city council. I know this is, as Commissioner Rappaport, this has been a long thing, and it was our last meeting also, but when we all look at what we're looking at the safety of people also, and meaning that it's also affordable for you to do what you need to do in your project. So,
I think we came up with a good plan. I appreciate everybody's comments.
yeah, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you to the folks in the audience. All right, we will move into our next case, which is site plan approval for the proposed modifications to U.S. ice manufacturing. Mr. Ayu.
Thank you, Chairman. Just let me get in order here. Sorry. All right, this is the proposed site modifications for U.S. Ice Manufacturing at 355 Central City Parkway. The site comprises of 6.985 acres and is currently zoned CB2. That's our shopping center, commercial business district. The site, as you all know, contains a vacant one-story brick commercial building that housed the former Dick's Sporting Goods. The building is approximately 85,000 square feet. On July 2019, the City Council granted approval for a proposed land division for separating the U.S. Ice portion of the building from the food manufacturing portion of the building, which was reviewed by you, the Planning Commission, as well. A use variance was also granted as part of this project, along with a lot size variance. The use variance was for granting approval of industrial type land uses in a commercial zoning district. And the lot size variance was related to the land division. Today, the petitioner is proposing to make several site modifications, including some to the building facade itself to accommodate the U.S. Ice use. The building height and footprint will essentially remain the same. I'm going to list really quickly the modifications in bullet point format. The proposed parking spaces on the site, south of the site.
Pardon me, Mr. Ayu. Folks, if you got something to discuss, would you go into out in the foyer out there to discuss it? We'll bring it back. Yes, that case is settled for now. Thank you. I'm sorry. Continue. Thank you, Mr. Ayu.
No problem. I'll pull up the site plan, the proposed and the existing in a second, so I'm just going to stick with this aerial for now. 34 parking spaces in the south side of the parking lot, approximately in this area, again, they're labeled on the site plan, will be restriped and expanded to convert them from their existing car stall dimensions to truck stall dimensions to accommodate the truck parking. Each space will have a dedicated electrical box. These spaces along this area specifically, I'll show you on the site plan. That's where the truck stalls will go. Each truck stall will have its own electrical box. A detail is on your site plan in the left-hand corner. The existing curbing between these spaces, this one and this one, will be extended to the north to accommodate the truck parking as well. In addition to the existing landscaping, the petitioner has agreed to install new trees along this property line, this landscaping area here, along with a 36-inch berm with shrubs along the south property line to screen the electrical boxes and truck parking from Central City Parkway. So this is not a requirement, but was an ask from the planning department, and the developer is willing to comply with that suggestion to improve the site aesthetic or to hide the truck parking from the road right away. 10 existing landscape islands, again, in this general area will be removed to allow for truck circulation. Again, this is an industrial use by nature, so there will be trucks circulating the site, and those curbs and islands will be removed to accommodate that. A new driveway will be installed in this area over here, and a dumpster will also be provided in this area over here, and the dimensions and the requirements to screen that dumpster will all be complied with according to the zoning ordinance, including the installation of shrubs on the outside of the dumpster enclosure, which is not a requirement, but willing to comply with that request. The dumpster, there's a caveat to this dumpster. It's only accessible, since it is right here in this area, it's only accessible to the truck having to drive onto the D&B Grocer's property, and it just happens to be that they are friends from another lifetime. And he has, the D&B Grocers has agreed in writing and has provided the city, the planning department, a written and signed agreement for vehicles that are maintaining the dumpster enclosure to access the parking lot of D&B Grocers to pick up the dumpster. A portion of the existing canopy, here you can kind of see it a little bit, will be removed and demolished, and a driveway and curbing along with 4 overhead doors will be placed in this general area over here. Again, I'll detail it on the site plan in a bit. The required off-street parking is 85 spaces for the 2 industrial uses. The proposed modifications will result in removal of 63 parking spaces. However, 164 parking spaces will remain, excluding the 34 truck parking stalls that were discussed earlier. Therefore, the site is still in compliance with the parking requirements. I'll give my recommendation on behalf of the administration. It's a recommendation to approve this petition, and real quick, I'll go through the site plan and the pictures. This is the existing site plan showing the curbs that are going to be demolished here in this area. This is a demo occurring of the canopy, and I'll go to a more detailed proposed site plan showing you what's going on in this area. Installation of shrubs, trees, and the berm, along with these little electrical boxes for each individual truck parking stall. You see these stalls, parking spaces increasing in dimension to accommodate the truck parking. You see the new driveway, the new curb cut, and the 4 overhead doors where the trucks can park inside. The dimension will remain the same for the building. Here's the dumpster enclosure I was referring to earlier, and the curb cut for the side entry door. This is a detail of what the electrical box will look like, approximately 4 feet tall, with this these plugs over here. This is what the front facade will look like. This This is the existing facade. This is DNB Grocers. This is east elevation. Some of these curb cuts is what we were talking about earlier. This is where the truck stalls will be placed along with the berm, the additional trees, and the light or electrical boxes. This is from the rear of the property on Nankin Boulevard. Berm here in the summer, you probably won't be able to see the building, but it's still in the winter gives it some kind of aesthetic protection with this probably 36-inch tall berm. That's all I got for this. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Petitioner here, would like to come forward and introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Saad Abu. I'm owner of U.S. Ice Company out of Detroit, but hopefully pretty soon to be here in Westland.
Well, we see you're moving forward with your building, and we're glad that you're here. I can ask if anybody in the audience wants to speak on this, so just sit close and we'll bring you right up.
No problem.
Anyone on my left want to speak on this? Anyone on my right? Sir, come right back up. Really, it's just an exercise program, okay.
No problem. I need the exercise.
We'll open it up to the commission. Commissioner
Ladies first.
Wilson, go ahead,
Beg your
please.
pardon? Yes, sir.
Okay.
Comment all you want.
Sir, thank you very much for bringing your business to Westland. I took a look over your petition request. Everything seems pretty reasonable and rational to me. And if I would recommend approval to the rest of my colleagues here on the board. And at that, I'll pass it on over to Ms. Wilson, hopefully for
Oh, you are
for a
ever
motion.
so kind in this new year.
Commissioner Wilson, if I can ask one question of the gentleman.
Yes, sir.
I know that you're going to have to relocate those 4 lights out of those islands.
Yes.
And where would you relocate
We're
those?
thinking of putting right in front of where the grass is and aim it on the parking lot and everything.
Just moving forward?
Yeah, right there. No, go back one. Along
you
the,
see
right,
where
where the truck's going to park into, it's going to be high enough to light up over them and into the parking lot.
Okay,
No, that's good.
because I know there's 4 of them. that's
I want to
outside.
make sure believe me, if you come to Detroit, you see how lit up that building is.
Good,
Yeah.
I do it for my protection and everybody else's protection. I'll make sure there's lights.
very good. Commissioner Wilson, I'm sorry. Boy, oh boy.
Thank you, husband. Thank you to you and your company for relocating and staying in the city of Westland. It's always nice to see one of our big boxes reutilized for some good purpose, and this is an excellent purpose. Thank you, Mr. Sharp, for asking the question about the lights and where they're going to be moved to, because I was going to ask the same thing. So I'm good with that. So I am prepared to make a motion to send case number 1896C to the City Council with a recommendation of approval.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Durante. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to approve the site plan modifications for US Ice at 35500 Central City Parkway, case number 1896C. Durante.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes?
Sharp.
Yes.
Spezak.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
And Wilson.
Yes.
6-0, the motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
for
ladies
your
and gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Good
your
luck.
patience.
Thank you.
Good luck. We'll move into our next case, which is also a public hearing, case 2230, public hearing for the proposed rezoning for the church on St. Simon Romanian Church on Newburgh. Commissioner Ayub.
I don't have the pleasure of being a commissioner.
You don't have that in front of you? I'm sorry.
But, thank you, Chairman. The property that is proposed to be rezoned is located on the west side of Newburgh between Ford Road and Cherry Hill. The overall site contains about 1 acre and is currently zoned Townhouse Residential District. and is developed with the I don't know if it's Saint Simon or Saint Simeon, so I apologize, Simeon, Romanian Orthodox Church. Churches and other religious institutions are not permitted in the THR zoning district, and therefore the church is considered to be a legal non-conforming use and structure. Non-conforming structures cannot be improved beyond 25% of their existing market value and cannot be expanded. Different cities have different rules and regulations on how non-conforming structures can be improved. Some cities don't allow it. Some cities allow it up to 50 or 75%. We allow improvements up to 25% of their existing market value, but don't allow expansions. The petitioner is proposing to rezone the property to R5 single-family residential, which is a decrease in zoning, in order to be able to expand the church building and make site improvements. Churches and other religious institutions are permitted in the R5 single-family residential zoning district, and this goes back to kind of the creation of zoning itself, where actually cities themselves is where you find churches and schools and parks in the single-family residential areas. So it's not uncommon for all cities in Michigan and throughout the country to allow churches and in their single-family and only in their single-family residential districts. If the rezoning is approved by the Planning Commission and City Council, the petitioner plans to do site improvements, as I mentioned, and will submit a site plan showing those improvements and expansion for approval again through the Planning Commission and City Council. Just really quickly, since this is a rezoning, property to the north is zone THR, townhouse residential, and is developed with the Bark Ridge Glen Apartments. Property to the south is consistent with the proposed zoning classification of R5 single-family residential, single-family house here, many single-family homes here. Properties to the west, I can't see them here, I apologize, but they are zoned I1 light industrial and are developed with a variety of trucking and industrial uses. Properties to the east over here are zoned CB3 and Garden Apartment, GAR, and are developed with the Michigan Humane Society and Raven Crest condominium development. The 2018 City of Westland Master Plan future land use map designated this property for semi-public. The R5 zoning district allows for semi-public uses. As mentioned earlier, the THR does not. Therefore, this proposed rezoning does put the property in compliance with the future land use map and is consistent with that. The administration and Planning Department recommend that this rezoning request be forwarded to the City Council with a recommendation for approval. Thank you. I actually have some pictures, I'm sorry. So I made myself a New Year's resolution to myself and the city that I will be visiting each individual site, but not only visiting it, taking pictures and providing them to everyone here. So I will go through these real quick. Michigan Humane Society to the east.
Could you talk up just a little bit?
Yes, I'm sorry. I will speak into the microphone. This is the Michigan Humane Society to the east. The condominium development to the north. This is the CB3 zoned property just to the northeast. Retail plaza. This is the church itself, small building. Can understand the need for an expansion. I think they utilize this as well, and this looks to be, I'm not clear what this is. I didn't have the opportunity to speak with the applicant, but this looks like could be potentially an outdoor area where events might happen, so that those might be occurring inside after the new addition. There will be parking requirement as well, so there is expected to be a parking lot installed during the development as well. That's facing the other condominium development where I overhear Spizak saying that he puts that. So that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is the petitioner here? petitioner here? Come forward and introduce yourselves, please. Good afternoon.
I'm a Reverend Father Aurel Saz, the parish priest for the St. Simeon Romanian Orthodox Church located on 8-1 North Newburgh, Westland. And then this is what we like, if it's possible, to approve the rezoning because we need a little extension on the same building for social activity after the religious service.
Very good. Anything you wish to add to Mr. Ayub's description and everything? Are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if you gentlemen just have a seat close by, we'll open it up and then we'll bring you back up. Thank you. Anyone on my left wish to speak on this? Anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Am I right? Gentlemen, if you'd like to come right back up, we'll open it up to the commission.
That lady over there.
Did you have something to speak? I don't know. Oh, we got to yeah, so if you'll just, we'll bring you right back up.
Hi, I'm Diane Sims, and it's hard to know questions without knowing what the plan is and how it will affect Park Ridge Condominium Association next door to them. So how do we know whether it's a good idea or not at this point?
Well, this portion here is just to rezone it so they can upgrade their property, but there's nothing planned. They have to come back with a whole set of plans and everything before any of this is done.
So if it's rezoned now, that makes it easier then to go to the next phase, correct?
It is,
Or no?
but where they're zoned now, they're locked in, it's like grandfathered, but it's not supposed to be that zoning. Residential zoning is where churches are, they're not in townhouse areas and things like that. So what they're asking now is just to have it rezoned into the proper zoning. And then at some point, they have to, if they change or decide to do something, they have to come back with a whole set of plans and everything else. And at that time, then that's when everything would be discussed. So this is just to bring it into the correct designation of the
Because it
property.
was not zoned properly originally,
So, yeah, well,
or what? How
it
does
was
that-
grandfathered in there before they had the zoning. It's been there a long time.
Oh, the church has been there
Yeah,
a
so
long
what
time?
they're doing is they're just bringing it into compliance with today's zoning laws. And that's all this is at this time. So there's nothing being built now, all that has to come back when and if they decide to do some changes. So this is just bringing it in compliance with today's zoning laws.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, would you come back up and we will open it up to the commission. Commissioner Rappaport.
Not surprisingly, I want to speak. So with regard to this, I'm hearing a little bit of confusion from myself, honestly, and from the citizenry. And this might be a little bit fine of a point. So please, and this is directed both to the petitioner, High Father, and also to the administration. And I'm going to make this as I'm going to say this as more of a statement, kind of practicing a little bit of active listening to make sure that I understand what's going on here. And hopefully by this process, everybody else will understand a little bit better as well. So what we currently have is we have a master plan for the city. Now that plan has zones, and each zone has a certain plan for what we're planning on using that zone for. So this particular zone that we're talking about has been set aside for, or planned for, brownstone townhouse type buildings.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the master plan actually, some future land use maps in undeveloped areas actually grab tons of parcels. In our developed city, the future land use map discusses in detail individual parcels. This individual parcel that is highlighted on your screen where the church exists Its future land use designation is semi-public, which is consistent with religious institutions, not the multi-family.
Right, so the master plan for future planning has envisioned that this be used for residential type purposes, which also does include a church, which could include a church. But because of the way that it's currently zoned, the church that currently does exist there is barred from making any modifications or modernizations, and currently looks like a out of place pillbox. No offense, I'm sure your church is lovely. I would like it to be more lovely. So what the proposal is here is to change it from one type of residential zone to a different type of residential zone that would allow the church to make the modifications possible under the law so that they can come back to us with an actual plan to beautify and modernize and modify the church. Is my understanding with that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. With that, I'm ready to make a motion.
No,
Oh, boom.
For real.
You have something?
yeah,
Commissioner Spezak.
huh?
Please.
Thank you. I'm a neighbor. I live across the street.
Oh, we're happy.
Therefore, I want to make the motion. The church has been there forever.
Motion's yours.
I'll make a motion. The Administration and Planning Department recommend that this zoning request be forwarded to the City Council with a recommendation for approval.
Close the public hearing, sir.
And close the public hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Spezak, supported by Commissioner Williams. Roll call, please.
All right, roll call vote to recommend approval to the City Council of rezoning 821 North Newburgh from Townhouse Residential to R5, our single-family residential zoning district. Durante.
Support.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Spezak.
Yes, neighbor?
Thank you very much and Happy New Year.
Yes, ma'am, we got two, we're not done yet.
Williams.
Yes.
And Wilson.
Yes.
6-0, the motion carries.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Good luck when you go to City Council. Thank you for your patience this evening.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
We'll move into our last item for business as far as the planning goes, and that's also a public hearing for case 2182C as a special land use for a proposed nano brewery on Joy Road. Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, Mr. Walters, you're up. The property comprises, let me actually go to it, I'm sorry. There we go. The property here, everyone is probably familiar with it, Joy and Hicks, comprises of 1.14 acres and is zoned CB3 general commercial business. The site is currently developed with the Joy Hicks Shopping Plaza, a small commercial center containing approximately 13,000 square feet of retail space. The petitioner today in front of you is proposing to occupy one of the vacant units with a microbrewery. The site is approximately 1,200 square feet in area. The petitioner, Joe Walters, is the brewer, I think that's how you say it, brewer, and founding partner of Liberty Street Brewing Company located in Plymouth, Michigan. He has designed many breweries as a consultant and is also an instructor at Schoolcraft in the Brewing and Distillation Technologies program. Just as a refresher, on September 16, 2019, the City Council denied the request for special land use approval for a proposed adult daycare use in this exact same unit. The Planning Commission may remember that last year as well. A site visit determined that the site is still in compliance with the previously approved site plan that permitted construction of the retail plaza. The zoning ordinance requires a minimum of 78 off-street parking spaces for the retail plaza. Review of the site revealed that the site contains 80 off-street parking spaces located on the subject property. Therefore, the site is in compliance with today's parking requirement. The site is currently screened from the adjacent residential neighborhood to the south with a 6-foot-high wooden screening fence. The site used to contain established landscaping in the public right-of-way along the street side of the south adjacent public thoroughfare. Here where my cursor is, there used to be a landscape buffer here. However, land where the landscaping existed was taken for road widening, I think in the late 80s. Therefore, landscaping along the parking area to screen it from the road does not exist anymore. The proposed use will not result in any changes to the exterior of the building or the site. If approved, the retail plaza will be fully occupied. There were 2 other reoccupancies that occurred later last year in the winter, so this is the last suite that's open. The microbrewery is consistent in nature with the existing commercial and retail uses within this plaza and should not have a negative impact on the surrounding properties. The hours of operation of the brewery are Wednesday through Saturday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. During football season, the owner expressed interest in opening the brewery on Sundays. It is important to note that the brewery will not have food service on site. However, the owner is allowing food delivery to the store if customers want to order that. No departments or utilities express any objection. Therefore, the administration and planning department recommend that the proposed land use be forwarded with a recommendation to approve the microbrewery. We'll just run through some of these pictures really quickly. This is just a sketch of approximately where the unit is in the total unit plan for this plaza. This is interior floor plan reviewed by our building official. There were some back and forth which came to the conclusion of requiring this bathroom back here, which the petitioner complied with, and an exit door back here, which is also complied with. Seating along the bar area back here, and brewing technology over here. This is the actual storefront that will be occupied. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Petitioner, would like to come forward and introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having me here, and I appreciate the consideration for my proposal here.
Anything you wish to add?
No, nothing, unless you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer as much as I can.
This is a public hearing. We will, anyone on my left wish to speak? Anyone on my right? Okay.
All right, thank you. I sat up close just in case I had to.
Yeah, I know, they were smart, see. All right, we will open it up to the commission.
I got a question.
Commissioner Wilson.
Through the chair to the petitioner, okay. This is my ignorance in this. What is microbrewing?
So it's technically through the state, licensed through the state of Michigan as a beer manufacturing facility, and I am allowed to have on-premise tasting or sampling or consumption, I should say, in a tasting room, as well as to-go sales in licensed and certified packaging, approved licensed packaging, approved through actually not just state of Michigan, but as well as the federal government.
Okay, and you also said you have another facility somewhere else?
Yes, I'm currently founding partner and one of the owners and brewer at Liberty Street Brewing Company in Plymouth, Michigan. We've been in business for a little over 11 years. December, a month ago, tomorrow was our 11-year anniversary. That business that I have with 5 other partners, we are currently in a sales agreement with purchasers for that business. And I can't wait for that to happen, because I want to do something smaller, a lot less overhead, and it's a little more on my own, yeah. So.
Okay. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It's always nice to see somebody hit their goals.
Yeah.
And if there's no questions or comments,
I'll return the floor to you for a motion.
okay. You just have to, don't you?
Commissioner Rappaport.
Can't let it rest.
So, thank you for sharing what a microbrewery is.
Sure.
Also, very curious, how does a microbrewery differ from a full-fledged brewery and a nanobrewery on the other side?
So the nano brewery is just a descriptor for the size of the size and production of the brewing that I'll be doing there. I'm planning on putting in a 1-barrel brewing system, which is 31 gallons or 2 kegs per batch. So nano is just a term used for a very small microbrewery. The two different licenses available in the state of Michigan is microbrewery or brew pub. The brew pub requires a Class C liquor license, which obviously requires food sales on premise, whereas the microbrewery allows me just to be the manufacturer and tasting room consumption, as well as to-go sales and distribution as well, whereas the brew pub cannot distribute under current laws.
Okay, and being in the industry for as long as you've been, you'll understand the following question. You are still subject as a microbrewery to the Dram Shop Act?
I'm not familiar with.
The Dram Shop Act holds providers of alcoholic consumptive beverages liable for damages caused when they over-provide
Sure.
to their patrons. My question is obviously, do you monitor the amount that your patrons are consuming before you allow them to leave without?
Absolutely, and I definitely appreciate the concern for that as well. If I may share something that I just heard this afternoon that I'm very proud of, the purchaser of our brewery, who just got approval from Plymouth Liquor Commission, Police Chief Cox had mentioned that to him that he has very big shoes to fill, because I've been in business over 11 years. I'm the only alcohol service business in the city of Plymouth that has absolutely no issues with the police at all whatsoever. So definitely there is my own concern for the safety of my customers as well as my business. Definitely I have to have insurance that covers all that as well. So, and there's training that I'm also required to be registered in as well.
Well, thank you, and I'm sure you understand that through these questions, we kind of also get a sense of who you are as a person and
Sure.
who you'll be as a part of our business community, and it helps us. It honestly does help us make our decisions.
Absolutely.
The last thing that I want to mention, and this might be a little, I remember seeing not too very long ago a microbrewery got in some hot water about some racial issues. That's not going to be
Founders.
for you in any way, shape, or form.
The business model that I am promoting is a one-man operation, so I won't have any employee issues, I won't have partner issues. These are things that I'm avoiding for specific reasons of, not to do with race, sex, or religion or anything, but just employees are any more tough to deal with, and partners are just as bad.
The only reason that I bring it up is that issue got national attention.
Sure.
And it brought some level of disrepute to the city.
Sure.
And of course, not saying in any way, shape, or form that you're related in any way to that industry, but I just wanted to raise it as a concern. More to state that when we do approve, and I predict we will approve, that we do actually rely on you to safeguard the reputation of our city and our community. And we do thank you and wish you the best.
Thank you,
With
sir.
that, I'll pass the floor over by permission of the chair to Ms. Wilson for a...
Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you. Back to me. The good part.
All right.
I would like to make a motion close the public hearing, waive the normal rules, and send case number 2182C to the city council with a recommendation of approval.
Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Williams. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to approve the proposed special land use of a microbrewery at 38409 Joy Road, case number 2182C. Roll call vote, Durante,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Spezak,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
And Wilson.
Yes.
6-0, the motion carries.
Sir,
Thank
good
you.
luck when you go to city council, and thank you for your patience. It's been a long
Thank you so
meeting.
much.
It sounds
you.
like it's a place for connoisseurs.
Thank you.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's a little higher price product and a little higher quality. I'd say. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ayub, you brought up that there's difficulty with our February meeting.
Yeah, so I will be gone during the regularly scheduled February 2020 meeting. I haven't received any petitions. I'm aware of some floating out there. However, it doesn't sound like they're going to be ready by this Friday. I typically extend the deadline if I can to work with individuals who have something coming in. So if by next Wednesday I don't have those applications in, there won't be an agenda for February anyways. If I do receive applications, I will work with you all, if that's okay, to reschedule the meeting, permitting on everyone's schedule. But as of now, and we'll call you to verify, but as of now, I think the February 2020 meeting is going to be canceled. Just wanted to give a friendly heads up in person.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chairman.
Motion for consideration of annual report for 2019.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Spezak, and that's to accept that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to accept the 2019 Planning Commission annual report as proposed. Durante?
Yes.
Rappaport?
Yes.
Sharp?
Yes.
Spezak?
Yes.
Williams? And Wilson. Thank you.
Next item is the election of officers for the year 2020. We'll start with chairman.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate our current chair, Ken Sharp.
Support.
Move to close nomination.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Spezak, to nominate Ken Sharp, and to close it, I'm sorry I didn't hear, I know the support was Commissioner Durante. Thank you. So Ken Sharp is elected by acclamation. No, you already had it when you closed it.
Sir,
What's that?
I would move to re-elect Chairman Sharp to his position by affirmation.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rappaport, supported by Commissioner Williams, to elect Ken Sharp as chairman for the year 2020. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move into the next would be for vice chairman.
Make a motion to nominate Mr. Andrew Spezak.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Rappaport to nominate Commissioner Spezak. Motion by Commissioner Durante to close nominations. Is there support for that?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Wilson.
This time I'd like to make a motion to call the question. Move to re-elect Mr. Andrew Spezak to his position for the following term by affirmation.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Rappaport, supported by Commissioner Wilson, to re-elect Commissioner Spezak to his normal position, or his last commission, as vice chairman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is for the position of secretary.
nominate Lori Wilson for secretary. Support.
Nomination of Lori Commissioner Wilson for secretary, supported by Commissioner Rappaport.
Close the nominations.
Closed nomination by Commissioner Durante. Is there support for that?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Spezak.
Move to close nominations.
Nominations are closed by,
Move to re-elect Commissioner Wilson to her position by affirmation.
Support.
is there support for that? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rappaport to re-elect Commissioner Wilson to her position as secretary. I think that was supported by Commissioner Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Thank you, everyone. You want to be treasurer? A motion to adjourn?
There's a motion.
Motion by Commissioner
By Williams.
Williams.
Hello.
Yes, sir. What?
Hi, yes, hi, good evening. My name is Raz Dragomir, and I've been here with a different case, but I only wanted to interrupt you to the end of the session right now, just because there's a great thing that happened in Westland, and you guys probably been part of that. On Newburgh Road, there's like now public lighting from like Jerry Road all the way to Palmer, I think, and that's fantastic. And I just wanted to say, wow, thank you. It improves like quality of life, and you know, driving and walking, and it's just a joy to go out when it's like light on the street, and it's just fantastic, and it's really, thank you.
Thank you. And it would be good if you went to city council with that same thank you. They would appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. When is that?
That'll be 2 weeks,
21st.
on Monday.
2 weeks?
21st.
Third Monday. So 2 weeks from yesterday. Okay. And it's at 6 o'clock?
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My position with the zoning board of appeals, do I need to be reappointed?
No,
for
not, that comes through
Mayor.
the mayor's office.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome. Otherwise, you would have it. We're assured of that. And we're assured that,
They like me, and I'm already a member.
well, good, then.
So you
Commissioner
wouldn't get rid of
Durante.
me for
I make a
that.
motion that we adjourn.
All right, that's the support right there.
Yeah.
So-
All in favor, say aye. Happy New Year, everyone.